In this lesson, I just want to look a little bit more at phpMyAdmin before we go into more PHP code. And what I'd like to do is just look at a few more of the options within phpMyAdmin. So I'm going to click on the Home button here. Now when I do that, I get different tabs along the top. The first one, databases, we've actually used already. This is where we can create a database. We can enter some SQL in here. We can check on the status. We can look at users. Now in this users one here, we can see the root user and we can see where the password is not set. Now obviously if this was a live environment for a client, we would not want that. We would want some security options in there. So if I click on Edit Privileges, and if I scroll down, we see the password section. So we can change the password and we can actually generate a password. Now, if you choose to actually generate a password and use it, make sure you keep it safe. You would click on Go to change the password. I am not going to do that. This is only an online course. There's nothing important in here. And just in case I do forget the password, I don't want to lose everything. I can actually export my databases. I can import, change settings, etc. Most of the tabs over here are for advanced users, so we're not going to actually go into those. But the next thing is we'll click on MySQL and we'll look at the tabs along the top for the actual database itself. Now we've got the structure, which is showing the tables. We can see for each table, we can browse the structure, we can search, insert, empty, etc. Now by emptying, we are removing all records, and that's different from drop. Drop means to actually delete the pupils table. Again, we've got some SQL that we can enter, we can search, query, we can export the database, we can import, and we've got different operations and privileges as well. If I go into the privileges, you can see that the root user has all privileges on this database. Now that's not something we'd probably want if this was a live environment. For example, if we just had a system where we were reading records from the database, then we would not want to give all privileges to that particular user. So we'd actually tighten the security on the database system. If I go into the tables, we can actually browse the data. We've seen that already. We can look at the structure of the tables. SQL again is just entering some SQL commands. We can search, we can insert records. We've seen that. We can actually export the data from the table. That's quite handy. And we can import as well. We've used that. Again, on the operations, we can actually rename the table. We can copy it across to a different table. We can copy the structure only, or we can copy the structure and the data. That's actually quite handy if you're messing around with something, you're making some changes, and you just want to keep a backup. Let's go back to the browse section and have a look at some of these records. With the records, we have the option to edit, copy, or delete. Now with the edit here, there are two ways we can edit a record. The way I prefer is just to double click in the cell, and I can change the name here to Claire, different spelling, and save that. So that inline method is my preferred method for editing records. The other way, we can click on edit, and then we get a little form we can fill in. Now, because this is a beginner's course, I don't want to go too much in depth on phpMyAdmin. It is a useful tool, but it's also a very complex tool. And as I said, I could run a full course just on phpMyAdmin. Now, what I want to do next is to use PHP to create, read, update, and delete records in a database.